ultimate feeling is we need to come back together. Like, I still see the left, and not everybody on the left. You know, my mom's still a registered Democrat, but like the left incorporated as the real enemy, the ones who are celebrating the Charlie assassination. That's the real enemy. And the right is going to need to come back together. You know, we have to find our way back to each other. And there have been a lot of people who are very, very neocon and pro-Israel and pro this war, with whom I am in touch and with whom I text regularly. And we've kind of quietly agreed to like keep the porch light on for each other, because the right is going to have to come back together after this is over and before the next elections, or we're never going to win any more elections again.
The band is back together, gang, and the polls are already surging. It's a glorious day in Trump's America. Oil prices are plummeting. The stock market just hit a new all-time high, and MAGA, the MAGA movement, is officially reuniting. Wait until you see what we got today. Stick with me to the very end of this video, because we're going to see how the Iran peace deal is healing the fractures in the most powerful political coalition in America, driving Trump's polls into a surge the legacy media can't ignore anymore, and setting up a midterm wipeout the Democrats are simply not prepared for. The peace deal with Iran is now officially in full effect, and what we're witnessing really is nothing less than a masterstroke of geopolitical brilliance, a strategic triumph so complete, so multidimensional, so utterly unprecedented that historians are going to be studying it for generations. Pay absolutely no attention to all the neocon naysayers who are jumping up and down. They were jumping up and down, cheerleading Trump's efforts just days ago. Now they're weeping and gnashing their teeth. They didn't get what they wanted in this peace deal. They're all upset and freaking out. That's irrelevant. It's irrelevant that Karl Rove didn't get what he wanted. It's irrelevant that Mark Levin didn't get what he wanted. It's irrelevant that Bibi didn't get what he wanted. Trump got everything he wanted. Trump took a regime that was racing toward a nuclear weapon that would have placed China, their chief financier, forever in control of the single most important energy choke point on the planet. And over the course of mere weeks, he systematically dismantled their military, their navy, their air force, their proxy armies, their nuclear infrastructure. He cracked open the Strait of Hormuz. He seized control of the world's most critical energy corridor. He boxed out China while squeezing China's manufacturing economy from both sides simultaneously. He expelled Russia from the entire region. He brought Arab Muslims and Jews into active military cooperation for the first time in history. He got $0 of American money going to the mullahs. He got IAEA inspectors on the ground. He got Iran's uranium stockpile headed for destruction. And he did all of it in less than 3 months, in literally less than 12 weeks. No ground troops, and with less casualties than Biden's disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal. The magnitude of this victory is simply overwhelming. The memorandum deal is absolutely clear and straightforward, and it is a radical departure from the Obama-era capitulation that allowed Iranian aggression to flourish. First, no enrichment. The Obama deal allowed enrichment. Ours does not. Second, Iran's existing stockpile of weapons-grade material is being destroyed. The Obama deal allowed accumulation of stockpile weapons-grade material. Ours is leading to its destruction. Third, no American money. The Obama deal sent Iran over $1 billion in American money. This deal gives Iran $0 of American money. If Iran behaves, they get Arab money. They get controlled and overseen by the United States. Very simple. Fourth, Strait of Hormuz is open. And last night, 12.5 million barrels of oil sailed through. That was a high since the beginning of this entire conflict. Fifth, IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency inspectors, they're going in. Iran is already inviting the IAEA to inspect its nuclear sites. U.S. nuclear inspectors are finally, for the very first time in ages, being allowed into the country. 6, Iran's proxies must be put on a leash. Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis. Now, Hezbollah and Hamas, in many respects, they've already been largely decimated in this conflict. But there can be no future for the Iranian proxy network that's brought so much instability to the region. And here's the beautiful mechanism this deal creates. It's essentially a dial. This is what everyone has to get. This is what the freak out over this deal always omits in their freak out. There's a dial. As Iran dials up their good behavior, we dial up the economic relief. It's classic Trumpian carrots. If they dial down their good behavior, we turn it off. We sunk their Navy. We destroyed their Air Force. We took out 50 of their top leaders. We wiped out thousands of military installations. They're dealing with $1 trillion of damage. And then here's the key, the linchpin to all of this. Their one single global leverage point, their ace in the hole, Hormuz, the threat of shutting down the strait and causing an economic catastrophe in the West, that was taken away from them by Trump's brilliant counter blockade. It's actually a combination of the counter blockade and America's energy independence, our drill baby drill policy. When Iran effectively closed Hormuz, our energy supply, our energy abundance, number one in the world right now, was able to continue to subsidize the global oil market to keep prices relatively low. Yes, it was a pain in the pump, no question, but certainly not the $200 a barrel of oil prices that people feared would have, shot gas prices at over $10 a gallon and provoke a massive economic crisis. That never happened, only because we had an abundance of oil to be able to supply the oil market with. So we were able to calm the global oil market, all the while holding Iran in a near naked chokehold, right? Rear naked chokehold with a counter blockade, which starved them the oxygen of $500 million a day in lost revenue. And that was a calculus that their economy, which was already in tatters, simply couldn't sustain. Yeah, it sucked here, paying over $4 a gallon in gas. And for them, they were losing $500 million a day. And their economy was already falling apart. And so they tapped out. That is what happened. That's what actually happened. This has got nothing. Oh, again, I'm hearing this neocon critic. We've never had them weaker. They were falling apart, and now we're releasing the pressure. No, they tapped out. They tapped out. Iran caved. They begged to open Hormuz so they could breathe again and access the oil revenue their economy so desperately needed. Here's the one, the only, the great J.D. Vance putting it brilliantly, as he always does.
Here's a simple fact. Yeah. The reason why we signed this deal is because Donald Trump did exactly what he came to do. He destroyed their nuclear program. He opened the Strait of Hormuz. And now we have nice Trump. You can have mean Trump or you can have nice Trump. And what he's saying to the Iranians is, because we came what we determined to do, we are going to outstretch our hand and say that if you guys behave, we are going to actually make you a successful country. And if you don't behave, you're not going to get anything, and you're never going to have this opportunity ever again. It's a classic Trump bargain. He gives these guys a choice and says, make the right choice or make the wrong choice. Frankly, it doesn't matter to the United States of America. We accomplished what we set out to accomplish, and now we have, as the president says, all the cards.
I love it. And the vast majority of voters are solidly behind this. Take a look at the latest from Quantus Insights, one of the most accurate pollsters of 2024. Look at this. 56% of voters support the peace deal. 56%. By contrast, just 13% of those polled, 1 in 10 were opposed to it. Those are the Mark Levins, those as well as the AOCs, the Democrats, all wrapped up into one. All the sound and fury coming from the neocon corner of the media today, which, make no mistake, is huge. Neocons still largely dominate, unfortunately, conservative media, but all their sound and fury literally signifies nothing. The vast majority of the country is solidly behind this peace deal, and that number is only going to grow as the pain at the pump subsides and the cost of goods plummet. And again, we're already seeing it. Our good friend Rich Barris, the pollster for Big Data Polling, obviously he's been those of you who know, he's been very, very critical of this Iran war. He's back saying that the peace deal, it's already showing what they're calling a peace bump for Trump. Take a look.
Away, but I think I'm looking at like a 10-point bump right here, Jack. That's crazy. We haven't even seen the details. Yes,
a 10-point bump for the president.
Not even kidding. Right now, it looks like, to me, if I had to estimate it, last time we were at -18. It was bad. It was looking bad. This is like -8 right now, which is insane. He could end up in the mid to high 40s with very much lower disapproval. During this war, his disapproval shot close to 60 in our polling. That's fatal territory. So the president course corrected perfectly, right before that happened. Thank the Lord. And this is going to turn around to look like very typical second term incumbency, which is where you want to be. I mean, that's it. I mean, it takes time for a president after they leave that honeymoon. It takes time for them to fall, and that second term fatigue comes in. A war accelerates that. If he did reverse this, I don't think I can give you the last time I can. I don't think there is an example. I really don't. Historically, I don't think you'll see a recovery like that. George Bush.
Would you call it, Rich? Would you call it?
Just never.
Would you call this a peace bump?
Let's call it the peace bump, because it's going to be a bump. The question is
the peace bump, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's call it.
We're seeing a peace bump for President Trump.
The peace bump for President Trump. I love it. And the bump is happening in more ways than one. And I'm sure many of you know, Rich Barris there, from the People's Fund. He's been one of the most vocal critics of this war. And he's been warning for months that this war was hurting Trump's coalition. He had data on that. Again, he claimed it was a little bit of an outlier based on the other polling that we're seeing, but nevertheless, he was very, very concerned. But now, with this peace deal secured, the Trump bump is officially bringing the band back together, Rich included. You heard Megyn Kelly earlier making it clear that it's time to kiss and make up. And again, that's exactly what we predicted would eventually happen here. Remember, in the end, the core of the coalition was always there with Trump. That's what the overwhelming data shows. This is the hard lesson that the neocons are learning about right now. Right? They were the cheerleaders over the last 3 months. Now they're finding themselves out in the periphery, out in the cold. The core was always there. All the polls showed that MAGA was solidly behind the president. NBC at one point actually found 100% support for Trump. It was insane. Fox News polling, which notoriously skews to the left, they found 98% of self-identified MAGA supporters supporting the president. YouGov found 91% of self-identified MAGA voters approving of epic fury. 100%, 98%, 91%. So the split never happened, not at the core. But now it looks as if the influencers, who were the ones most disaffected over the war, they're starting to finally come back, which is great because we're all stronger together. Unfortunately, the neocons are now the ones who are flipping out. Ben Shapiro, maybe you've seen this. Again, he was the biggest cheerleader for Trump for the last 3 months. Now he's calling the memorandum a disaster. He's claiming that it doesn't achieve any of Trump's core goals of ending Iranian nuclear enrichment. And then what he does, it's so funny, is then he cites the rhetoric of war. He cites Trump's goals as he says them during a war, right? So ending Iranian nuclear enrichment, eliminating Iran's ballistic missiles. He's even claiming it's allowing Iran to continue to toll the Strait of Hormuz, all while getting sanctions relief on oil exports. He doesn't mention that Iran's probably not going to be able to export oil for the next 2 months, but I mean, because they're so backlogged in their infrastructure. But all of that assumes that the calculus in Hormuz is the same as it was before the war, which it emphatically is not. Iran lost Hormuz.